Hello beautiful learners, hope you're doing great. I'm also good by the grace of Almighty. It's our day 52 of IELTS listening practice test with answers and proper explanation for achieving band 9. Before going to start our class, I just need to check whether you can hear me as well as the audio track. Then I will begin the class. Okay, just give me a few seconds to check it.
You will hear a number of different recordings, and you will have to answer questions based on what you hear. There will be time for you to read the instructions and questions, and you will have a chance to check your work.
Okay, I'm quite confident that you are hearing me as well as the audio check. Now let's begin. So let's listen first instruction from him as he was talking. Okay, let's listen it.
You will hear a number of different recordings, and you will have to answer questions based on what you hear. There will be time for you to read the instructions and questions, and you will have a chance to check your work. All the recordings will be played once only. The test is in 4 sections. At the end of the test, you will be given 10 minutes to transfer your answers to the answer sheet. Now turn to section 1.
Okay, I hope you got the instruction from him as he was delivering that. Now we have another instruction to read it. Let's read it. Okay, no more than 3 words and a number for each answer. Okay, here we can see we have sample one to look at, and the answer of that is oldest daughter. Okay, now let's listen it first for this sample one. Okay,
Section 1 and a representative of occasions 1 to 7. And only the conversation relating to this will be played first.
Good afternoon, Magnificent Marquise. How can I help you?
Oh, hello. I would like to hire Marquis. You see, it's for a special occasion. My eldest daughter is celebrating her 18th birthday and her coming of age. There was no question of her waiting until her 21st, although I'm sure we'll be having a big celebration then too.
So, you're celebrating in style? Well, of course, I'd be happy to help. First, could you give me some details about guest numbers?
The customer wants to hire a marquee for her oldest daughter's 18th birthday. So you write oldest daughter in the space provided. You should answer the questions as you listen, because you will not hear the recording a second time.
so I hope you got the sample one. Now we are going to listen it for question number 1. Okay, let's listen it and let's read the question. Okay, number of guests invited. Okay, now we're going to listen a number. Okay, now let's listen it.
Listen carefully and answer questions 1 to 7.
Good afternoon, Magnificent Marquise. How can I help you?
Oh, hello. I would like to hire Marquis. You see, it's for a special occasion. My eldest daughter's celebrating her 18th birthday and her coming of age. There was no question of her waiting until her 21st, although I'm sure we'll be having a big celebration then too.
So, you're celebrating in style? Well, of course, I'd be happy to help. First, could you give me some details about guest numbers?
Right, yes. Well, I was anticipating just a small do, but my daughter seems to have other ideas.
Well, you can't blame her. It's a special day.
I guess. I told her to limit numbers to around 50 guests, but the guest list seems to be growing daily. She would like to invite double that number, but we decided to split the difference and settle on 80 rather than 100.
If you don't mind...
So 80 rather than 100, so 80 would be the answer. Let me put it. Okay, now we are going to listen it for question number 2, the customer budget. Okay, let's listen it for. Okay,
And some of the guests standing, then our marquee sizes always allow standing space for almost double as many as those seated. For instance, one of our smaller marquees seats 30 guests but accommodates 50 standing.
That sounds interesting. How big is that marquee? As not only am I working to a budget, but also we're limited by our garden size.
Can you give me an idea of both your budget and the size we're looking at?
Yes, I'm thinking of spending between £400 and £600. I can stretch to another 100 or two, but that's the maximum limit.
So she was saying, I'm thinking of spending between £400 to 400 to 600 pounds. I can stretch to another 100 or two, but that's the maximum limit. So that's the maximum limit. So it would be, as she was saying, he was thinking of spending between 400 to 600, and then she was saying I can stretch another 200. Okay, so another 200 plus 600 means 800, and she was saying that would be that's the maximum limit. So we should write maximum limit. Okay, let me put it. Let's see. Maximum limit. Okay, now we are going to listen it for question number 3. Okay, marquee size. Okay, let's listen it. Oh, here we can also have x9 meters. Okay, let's listen it.
As for size, well, our garden is 15 metres by 30 metres.
Okay, well, our 4.5 by 9 metre marquee would fit in nicely.
Okay, so he was saying, okay, well, our 3.5 by 9 meters. So 4.5 by 9. Okay, so 4.5. Okay, would be the answer. 4.5 by 9 meters. So 9 is here, you can see. Okay, 9 meters. Okay, so you don't need to write anything else. Okay, now let's listen it for question 4. Blah blah cost is 450. Okay, let's listen it.
The hire and installation comes to £450, but that allows...
Okay, so here's saying the hire and installation comes to 450. So hire and installation. Okay, let me put them. Hire and installation means hire and installation. Okay, would be 450 pounds. Okay, now let's listen it for question number 6. Blah blah cost is 150. Let's listen it for question number 5.
allows you to have the marquee for 2 days.
The marquee size you mentioned sounds fine and will accommodate the guests that we are expecting. Yes, I think that's the size I'll go for.
So, now as to the cost of lighting and fittings.
Oh, will that be very expensive?
It depends on what you want, but the cost of carpeting the marquee will add on another £150. With regard...
Okay, so he was saying it depends on what you want, but the cost of carpeting the marquee will be add another 150. So cost of carpeting will be the answer. Let me put them. So let's take cost of carpeting. Carpeting will be the answer. Okay, now let's listen it for question number 6. Okay, lighting cost approximately blah blah pound. Let's listen it.
To the lighting, prices vary quite a bit. If you opt for chandelier lighting, then it's another £90, but that's the most expensive option. Otherwise, the average pricing is around £55.
Okay, so here's a saying, average pricing for lighting around £55. So 55 would be the answer. Okay, now let's listen it for question number 7. Okay, dates mark you required, set up date. Okay, blah blah. Let's listen it.
I think I'll go for the more economic lighting then.
Then there's the furniture, tables and chairs and so on. You decided on seating for 30 guests. Well, at £3 per chair, that will work out at £90 in total. You will then probably need 5 tables at least, and so with each table costing £4, that brings us to a total of £20 for the tables.
OK, so I'm still just within my budget. Great! I'll go ahead with the booking then.
Wonderful. So there's only one more important detail that I need. When would you like us to set up the marquee?
Well, my daughter's birthday's on June the 6th, so ideally a day beforehand. Then...
So, okay, so she was saying, well, my daughter's birthday is on June 6th. So ideally a day beforehand. Okay, so she was saying his daughter's birthday is June 6th. So she's she's saying, so ideally a day before. So a day before is that means it would be June 5th. Okay, let me put it, June 5th. Okay, now we are going to listen it for question number 8. Okay, so here we have another instruction to read. Okay, let's read it. No more than 2 words and or a number for each answer. Okay, so here we can see customer detail. Now we are going to listen it for name of customer. Okay, let's listen it.
And we could have it taken down the day...
Now listen and answer questions 8 to 10.
OK, so that I can process your order, I need to take down some details. May I start by taking down your name and postcode?
Yes, it's Jenny Lakewell, and the postcode's CV6T...
So she was saying his name is Jenny Lakewell. Let me put it. Jenny L-A-K-E-E-L-L, Jenny Lakewell. Okay, now we're going to listen it for question about postcode. Okay, let's listen it for postcode.
Yes, it's Jenny Lakewell, and the postcode's CV6TL3.
Is that Jenny with a double N?
Yes, that's correct.
So she was saying his postcode is CB6 TL3. Okay, oops, sorry, TL3 will be the answer. Now we are going to listen it for question number 10, contact number. Okay, we are going to listen it for a number. Okay, so let's listen it.
And is that Jenny with a Y or an IE at the end?
Yes, it confuses everyone. I use the first spelling.
And I'm sorry, I didn't quite catch the postcode. Was that CB6?
No, it's with a V, not a B. So it's CV6.
Right you are. Can I have a contact number also, please?
My mobile number is 07900 456... Oh, hold on a minute. I forgot I've got a different number now. So it's 079, then 44, not 00, followed by 325883.
Great, that's everything for the moment. We'll be sending you details and...
So I hope you got the number. Now I need to listen it one more time whether I'm right or not. Let's listen it one more time, okay?
Followed by 9, then I forgot I've got a different number now. So it's 07900 456... Oh, hold on a minute. I forgot I've got a different number now. So it's 079, then 44, not 00, followed by 325883.
Okay, I'm correct. Okay, so it some people say that it's really critical when she was saying followed by G2. Okay, as she was saying, it's O means 0. Okay, don't be confused. O means 0. So 07344 followed by 2. So followed by 2 means the remaining number. Okay, the I mean after you have to write them. Okay, so followed by 3 means you have to continue writing the number. Okay, the digit. Okay, so 325883. okay, will be the answer. I hope you got it. So I'm done with part 1. Let's jump into part 2. Here we can see we have a level map built of a typical Maldives castles. Okay, write the correct letter A to G next to question number 20, 11 to 15. Here we can see place A, B, C, D, E, okay, F, G. Okay, and we have here outer counter, outer gatehouse, raised round. Okay, ground. Okay, here we have a tower. Okay, so now we are going to listen it for question number 11, and here we have a chapel. Okay, now we need to find out, we need to listen it and find out it where is chapel located. Okay, just give me a few sec to zoom in, zoom out it. Okay, so let's find out where is chapel. Okay, okay, let me play the audio.
Now listen carefully and answer questions 11 to 15.
Today we are going to study the typical layout of a medieval English castle. Highly fortified and with difficult access, medieval castles were impressive strongholds, designed to keep the castle's inhabitants safe and the invaders at bay. The main entrance would have been the outer gatehouse, located at the bottom right-hand corner of the diagram, just by the chapel buildings. However,
so she was she was saying chapel building is here, and she was saying, let me explain it to you, the main entrance would have been the outer gatehouse. Okay, so main entrance is this one. Okay, and she was saying located at the bottom right hand corner of the diagram. So this one is right hand of the bottom. Okay, and she was saying just by the chapel building, so this one is obviously the chapel building. Okay, so G would be the chapel building. Let me choose here option G. Okay, now we are going to listen it for question number 12, and in question number 12 we have Great Hall. Okay, let me highlight it. Let's listen it for Great Hall. Okay, where is located it? Okay, let me play the audio.
even if you had entered via the outer gatehouse into the castle grounds, you would still have been outside the main part of the castle. The buildings in the outer court were not the main residential areas of the castle. These latter buildings belonged to the inner castle area and were heavily protected both by a water-filled channel known as a moat, which extended around a third of the inner part of the castle, as well as the fortified walls around the castle exterior. To enter the innermost area, you had to enter a long, narrow tunnel known as a barbican, over and directly above which the gatehouse was located. The barbican, being the only access point to the inner castle, was narrow and heavily guarded to prevent large enemy forces storming the inner castle area. The inner castle area held the main buildings around which daily life revolved. Here the Great Hall, along with the great chambers and kitchens, were located, as well as the castle bakehouse. The Great Hall was the only building with a courtyard view to the back and front. Whilst the Great Hall...
Okay, so that means D is the place for Great Hall. Okay, let me choose option D and let me explain to you. As she was saying, here the Great Hall, as she was saying, here the Great Hall along with the great chambers and kitchens were located, as well the castle back house. Okay, and she was saying also the Great Hall was the only building with a country yard view to the back and forth. So country yard and back. So country yard means it's a side of a country, so that means D would be the answer. Okay, now we are going to listen it for question number 13. Okay, great chambers. Okay, let me highlight it. Let's listen it. Okay,
enjoyed a central location in the inner castle area. The great chambers and kitchen were less prominently positioned. Both of the latter buildings were located off to either side in and front. Whilst the Great Hall enjoyed a central location in the inner castle area, the great chambers and kitchen were less prominently positioned. Both of the latter buildings were located off to...
Okay, so here saying whilst the Great Hall enjoyed a central location in the inner castle area, the great chamber and the kitchen are less prominently positioned. Okay, less prominently positioned. So C is the answer. Okay, okay, let me choose C. As here we can see, as this Great Hall is the country yard. That means it's located in the center of the country. But as she was saying, whilst the Great Hall enjoyed the center location, so that means D here is the center location. Great Hall, and she was saying central location in the inner castles area. The great chamber and kitchens were less prominently positioned. So that means C is the answer. Okay, now we are going to listen it for question number 14 and the back house. Okay, let me highlight it and let's listen it. Back house. Okay,
to either side of the Great Hall. The great chambers, unlike the bakehouse, which is next to one of the towers, did not enjoy a courtyard view. Part of the
okay, so as she was saying, the great chambers, unlike the bakehouse, which is next to one of the tower, did not enjoy a country yard view. Okay, so that means it's A would be the answer, because here we have another tower. Okay, as she was saying, unlike the great chamber, like the bakehouse, which is next to one of the tower, did not enjoy the country view. So that means this would be the answer. Okay, so it's not in the country view or country yard. Okay, it's a side of a country. Okay, so that means, as she was saying, it's close to or near to another tower. So that means here is the A is the place, only place it's near to a tower. Okay, so A would be the answer. Okay, for question number 14. Now let's listen it for question number 15. For stat tables. Okay, let me highlight it and let's listen it.
Exterior castle wall formed the back wall of the great. Part of the exterior castle wall formed the back wall of the great chambers, as it did with the stables, located in the outer court.
Okay, located in the outer court. As she was saying, part of the exterior castle's wall from the back wall of the great chambers, as it did with the stables located in the outer court. So that means F would be the answer. Okay, let me choose here F. I hope it's super clear to you now. Okay, let's move on to question number 16 to 20. Okay, here we have to choose the correct letter A to A, B or C. Here we see in question number 16 Maldi. Okay, medieval castles. Okay, let me highlight it. Medieval castles blah blah shared a common design where each unique had the same method of fortifications in common. Okay, let's listen it.
Now listen and answer questions 16 to 20.
The layout I've just described will give you a better idea as to the design of a medieval castle. There was no blueprint for castles though, and the design and layout of each castle was determined greatly by local demands, function and purpose for which the fortification was intended.
Okay, so as she was saying, there was no blueprint for castles through and the design. Okay, so there was no blueprint for castles through though, and the design and layout of each castle was determined greatly by local determinants, function and purpose for which the fortification was intended. Okay, so there was no blueprint for castles. So that means were each unique. Okay, so B would be the answer. Okay, because it's relevant to his hard talk. Okay, now we're going to listen it for question number 17. Okay, the early medieval keep served as a prison and fortified tower, a fortified tower and living area, a fortified entrance to the inner castle area. Okay, let's listen it.
What we see in the castle design here is an advance on earlier medieval designs. Those medieval castles that predated this one had very basic residential and living areas. In such castles, the main focal point was the keep, rather than the great hall and great chambers, as in later years. Little more than a fortified tower, the keep doubled up as basic accommodation for the castle's residents. As the years passed,
okay, so she's saying the keep doubled up a basic accommodation for the castle's residents. That means okay, let me read it one more time. Each option. Okay, a person and fortified tower. Not this one. Fortified tower and living area. Okay, living area and accommodation. Okay, B would be the answer. Let me explain to you. As she was saying, the keep doubled up as a basic accommodation. Okay, basic accommodation for the castle's residents. Okay, basic accommodation means a living area. Okay, accommodation means a living area for residents. Okay, so B would be the answer. Okay, I hope you got it. Now let's listen it for question number 18. In later medieval castles. The key. Okay, let's read the options. Okay, evaluate into a set of different buildings, was used purely for accommodation, played a less significant role in the castle's domestic life. Let's play the audio and let's listen it.
The living areas became more luxurious, evolving into separate buildings. Confusingly, the keep...
Okay, so she's saying the living areas become more luxurious, evolving into separate building. Okay, so evolve into a set of different building, was purely for accommodation, played a less significant role in the castle's domestic life. Okay, so she is saying as the years passed, the living area became more luxurious, evolving into separate building. More luxurious and evolving into separate buildings, so played a less significant role in the castle's domestic life. Okay, so C would be the answer because it was all it became more luxurious, evolving into separate building. Okay, so that played a less significant role in castle's domestic life. Okay, now let's listen it for question number 19. Okay, underground dungeons were built in the response to a shift in the medieval belief system, the keep being no longer used for prisoners, a call for harsher treatment for prisoners. Okay, let's read it. Let's play the audio and let's listen it.
It was known as a donjon, meaning fortified tower in French. The term dungeon was only used in later years to refer to underground prisons. In fact, at the time when the keep dominated castle affairs, the use of latter-day dungeons for imprisonment was an unknown and alien concept. The judicial system...
Okay, so she was saying the use of latter-day dungeons for the imprisonment was an unknown and alien concept. So a shift in the medieval belief system, keep being no longer used for prisoners, call for harsh treatment for prisoners. No, A would be the answer, I hope, because it's relevant to our talk. As she was saying, the use of later day dungeons for imprisonment was an unknown and alien concept. Okay, so it's quite relevant to option A, so that's why option A would be the answer. Now let's listen for question number 20. The least effective line of defense was, let me highlight it. Okay, let's read the option. The fort cools, the drawbridge, the barbican. Okay, let's listen it.
Favouring more physical forms of punishment instead. Another dissimilarity between earlier and later medieval castles was in their fortification. A moat, fortified walls and a barbican were typical features of most castles. However, it was recognised with the passage of time that the narrow fortified entrance of the Barbican was insufficient defence against an enemy intent on invading the castle. As
Okay, so C will be the answer. Let me check C, as she was saying. However, it was recognized with the passage of time that the narrow fortified turns of the Barbican was insufficient defense against an enemy intent on the invading the castles. Okay, so that means the Barbican will be the answer. Okay, now we are done with part 2 also. Let's move on to part 3. Okay, so here we have to choose the correct letter at A, B or C for question number 21. Okay, let's read the question first. Here we can see, okay, Julie and Dave thought the lecture gave a new insight into Shakespeare's style, offered a thought-provoking view of Shakespeare and his work, explained Shakespeare's belief in gods. Okay, let's listen it.
Now listen carefully and answer questions 21 to 25.
That was an interesting lecture.
I'm glad you thought so.
Yes, it made a break from the usual lectures on literary style. Certainly made me look at some of Shakespeare's plays like Hamlet and the playwright himself in a new light.
Me too.
Okay, so there was a saying, it suddenly made me look at some of Shakespeare's plays like Hamlet and playwright himself in a new light. Okay, so that means offered a thought-provoking view in Shakespeare's and his writing. So B would be the answer. Okay, as it was saying, it certainly made me look at some of Shakespeare's play like Hamlet. That means Hamlet is his book. Okay, and the playwright, okay, himself in a new light. Okay, that means B would be the answer. Now we are going to listen for question number 22. Hamlet was a play which reflected popular belief in the supernatural, the recorded historical events seemingly in conflict with the accepted beliefs. Okay, let's listen it.
I always thought that Shakespeare believed in the supernatural, and that was the reason why so many of his plays, like Hamlet and Macbeth, featured a ghost.
What you thought is a common misconception. However, when you think about it, it was unlikely that Shakespeare would have been sympathetic to a belief in ghosts.
Why?
Well, he was Protestant, as was his audience, and the Protestant religion did not subscribe to a belief in ghosts as spirits returning from another world. Also, Hamlet was set in Denmark, and although fictional, the play would have reflected the Protestant beliefs of the Danes too.
So,
okay, so she was saying the play would have reflected the Protestant beliefs of the Danes too. So that means seemingly in conflict with the accepted belief. So C will be the answer. Okay, now let's listen it for question number 23. In the time of James first, okay, a belief in ghost was not tolerated. More people believed in ghosts. Certain religious beliefs were not acceptable. Okay, let's listen for question number 23.
oh, the main religion in England at the time was Protestantism.
Very much so. Any other religions like Catholicism were not tolerated by the religious authorities or James I, who was head of the Church of England at the time.
What did the Catholics...
Okay. So C would be the answer. Okay, let me choose. Right, and let me explain it to you. Okay, certain religion beliefs were not acceptable, as she was saying, like Catholicism were not tolerated by the religious authorities. James I, who was head of the Church of England at the time. Okay. So Yuli was asking the main religion in the England at the... Okay, we are out of time. Let me restart it once again from the beginning. Okay, so Yuli was asking the main religion in the England at the time was Protestantism. Okay, and the man was saying not very much so any other religions like Catholicism were not tolerated by the religious authorities or James I, who was head of the church and the England at the time. Okay, so that means okay, C would be the answer. Okay, certain religious beliefs were not acceptable. Okay, now let's listen it for question number 20. Sorry.
Now listen carefully.
Great.
is called
meaning and or difficult as just to say
Shakespeare incorporated ghosts.
odd to write. So yes, there was clearly another motive.
I guess when you think about it, it's quite apparent. As you mentioned in the lecture, ghosts appear in Macbeth and Hamlet,
Really, the events
that Shakespeare incorporated.
between heaven and hell.
So it was obvious, really, that Shakespeare incorporated ghosts into his play for other reasons, right?
Absolutely. It's certainly odd to write about something you really don't believe in and then ask the audience to believe in it. So yes, there was clearly another motive.
I guess when you think about it, it's quite apparent. As you mentioned in the lecture, ghosts appear in Macbeth and Hamlet really to show what the characters are thinking and as a catalyst for certain events.
They don't believe in and then it's certainly...
Okay, now we're going to listen it for question number 24. Okay, Shakespeare introduced ghost into plays, let me highlight it, because the belief in a spirit world as theoretical device to provoke religious debate. Okay, let's listen for question number 24.
Really odd to write about something you really don't believe in and then ask the audience to believe in it. So yes, there was clearly another motive.
I guess when you think about it, it's quite apparent. As you mentioned in the lecture, ghosts appear in Macbeth and Hamlet really to show what the characters are thinking and as a catalyst for certain events.
Quite right.
Okay. So, okay, B would be the answer, I think. Let me explain to you. Okay, as theoretical device. Okay, as you were saying, as you mentioned in the lecture, ghost appears in Macbeth and Hamlet really to show what the characters are taking and as catalyst for certain events. Okay, so B would be the answer. Now let's listen it for question number 5. Shakespeare's audience would probably have blah blah. Okay, secretly approved of supernatural content in plays shown probable for plays with supernatural content, disapproved of the inclusion of ghost in plays. Let's listen it for number 25.
And I think it's quite plain that Shakespeare had no belief in the supernatural. The fact that the ghosts seen by Macbeth and Hamlet are only often either visible to themselves or speak only to them suggests that the ghosts are only as real as the imagination of those who see them.
So, would you say that the audience was as sceptical as Shakespeare with regard to ghosts?
Well, as you know, the official line would have been that they didn't believe in ghosts, as it was not in line with Protestant beliefs prevalent at the time. Nevertheless, contrary to expectations, they do seem to have been a superstitious lot. Belief in witches and
Okay, so she's saying, nevertheless, contrary to expectations, they do seem to have been a superstitious lot. Okay, so that means secretly probed of supernatural content in plays. Okay, as she was saying, nevertheless, contrary to expectations, they do seem to have been a superstitious lot. Okay, now let's listen it for 26 to 30. Okay, before that, okay, let's read the question. What does Yuli say about the following subject? Okay, she's about the following subjects. Okay, now we are going to write the correct letter A, B or C next to question number 26 to 30. Okay, scornful, dismissive, open-minded, believing. Now we are going to listen it for question number 26, witches and astrology. Okay, let's listen it for first.
astrology were common back then, but how they justified their beliefs in religious terms is quite a mystery.
Before you hear the rest of the discussion, you have some time to look at questions 26. Now listen and answer questions 26 to 30.
People, I think, today are a lot less gullible than in that period, though, don't you agree? I mean, honestly, believing in witches and astrology and all that.
Well, judging by the popularity of TV programs.
Okay, so she's saying people, I think, today are a lot less guidable than in that period. Though, don't you agree? I mean, honestly believing in witches and astrology and all that. Okay, so that means scornful and dismissive. Okay, would be the answer. Let me choose option A. Okay, now let's listen for question number 27. Okay, ghosts. Let's listen it for.
Programs today, like Most Haunted, I would say there's a fair amount of interest in the supernatural still.
I guess most people are like me, curious but not entirely convinced when it comes to the spirit world.
Well, I think...
Okay, so she was saying, I guess most people are like me, curious but not entirely convinced when it comes to the spirit world. So that means B would be the answer. Let me choose B, open-minded. Okay, as she was saying, I guess most people are like me but not entirely convinced when it comes to spiritual world. Okay, spiritual world. So that means she's open-minded. Okay, now let's listen it for question number 28. UFOs aliens. Okay, let's listen it for.
Ghosts are just the product of certain people's imaginations.
You can't overlook the fact that many supernatural events cannot be explained.
Personally, I think ghosts are just as likely to exist as UFOs and aliens.
Well, I think at least the latter do exist.
I agree. It's absurd to think we are alone in the universe.
Okay, so you was saying, I agree. It observed to think we are alone in the universe. Okay, so that means believing. Okay, believing would be the answer. Okay, but she was saying, I agree. Okay, so she was agree with them. Okay, it's absurd to think we are alone in this universe. Okay, now let's listen it for question number 29. Premonition. Okay, let's listen it for.
You certainly seem to be quite a sceptic, Dave.
Actually, I do believe in some aspects of the paranormal.
Like?
Well, not ghosts and aliens, obviously, but things like telepathy and premonition.
It's easier to understand or believe in telepathy and premonition as you hear of so many examples of these phenomena occurring in real life. Not just reported stories, but from friends and acquaintances. I'm inclined, though, to think premonitions are more coincidence than due to a paranormal event. But maybe I'm just saying.
Okay, so she's saying, I'm inclined to think premonitions are more coincidence than due to a paranormal event. So that means B would be the answer. Okay, as she was open-minded. Okay, for this question. Okay, now let's listen it for question number 30. Okay, telepathy. Okay, let's listen it for.
Saying that, as I've not had first-hand experience of premonitions,
So you believe in telepathy, then?
I think that the evidence in favour of it is impossible to deny. What do you think, Mick?
Okay, so she was saying, Deb was asking, so you believe in telepathy, and you was replying that I think that the evidence in favor of it impossible to deny. So impossible to deny, that means she is believing in it. Okay, so that means C would be the answer. Okay, as she was saying, it's impossible to deny. Okay, that means she is believing. So C would be the answer. I hope you got it. Okay, as it's super clear to you. Now we're going to jump into part 4. Okay, so here we can see here's another instruction to for us to follow no more than 3 words for each answer. Okay, just keep it in your mind that we're allowed to write only 3 words for each answer. Okay, so let's read it for question number 31. Okay, here we can see Darwin is credited with having blah blah. Okay, popular beliefs. Okay, let's listen it for question number 31. Let me play the audio.
You will hear a number of different
Oops, sorry, it's begun to start from the first.
It was unlikely that she described legends like head of the Chuvets were seen as lost souls
For other reasons,
Supernatural of
spiritual lives. They do see, but how?
Before you hear the rest of the questions 26 to 30.
people, I think, people so but believe on information evidence thing out your pleasure.
First, you have evolution and its impact on society. Section 4. you will hear part of a lecture about Darwin's theory of evolution and its impact on society. First, you have some time to look at questions 31 to 40.
Okay, I'm sorry to play the audio because it's problem with the website. I think here is nothing. We have to listen. As you can see, it's problem with their website. I can play. I'm trying to play it, but it's not working. Okay, so it's bad luck for us. I have to submit it. It's here, and I'm going to show you. Okay, the answer now. Before that, we have to re-click each answer one more time because we was out of time. Okay, so you have to submit all the answers. I mean, we just completed 30 questions, but not all the module. Okay, because we cannot play the audio. Maybe it's problem with their website, I think. So just give me a few sec to re-click. Okay, it was G, I need to select G again. It was D, I need to select D again. It's C, I need to select C. It's A, I need to select A. It's F. Okay, I need to select F again. Okay, okay, let's submit it for 30 questions. Okay, we have to skip all of them because we cannot listen the audio, because here is nothing to listen. So let's submit it and check how much we obtained out of 3. Okay, out of 30. Okay, we got 7 out of 9, and we are correct for 30. So we can say we got 9 out of 9 because we answered only 30 questions and we got 30. Okay, we got 30 out of 30. So I hope I will see you in the next class with another practice test, and I hope you enjoyed this lesson, and I would suggest you to watch our previous classes, as that will be helpful to you to increase your listening skills, and then I hope you will be able, or you will have a great confidence to set in the real exam. Okay, so just keep watching our previous lesson. Okay, so that's all about today's lesson. I hope I will see you in the next class with another IELTS listening practice test. So